الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
قاف والقرآن المجيد بل عجبوا أن جاءهم منذر منهم فقال الكافرون هذا شيء عجيب أإذا متنا وكنا ترابا ذلك رجع بعيد قد علمنا ما تنقص الأرض منهم وعندنا كتاب حفيظ بل كذبوا بالحق لما جاءهم فهم في أمر مريج أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم كيف بنيناها وزيناها وما لها من فروج والأرض مددناها وألقينا فيها رواسي وأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج بهيج تبصرة وذكرى لكل عبد منيب ونزلنا من السماء ماء مباركا فأنبتنا به جنات وحب الحصيد والنخل باسقات لها طلع نضيد رزقا للعباد وأحيينا به بلدة ميتا كذلك الخروج كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح وأصحاب الرس وثمود وعاد وفرعون وإخوان لوط وأصحاب الأيكة وقوم تبع كل كذب الرسل فحق وعيد أفعينا بالخلق الأول بل هم في لبس من خلق جديد ولقد خلقنا الإنسان ونعلم ما توسوس به نفسه ونحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد إذ يتلقى المتلقيان عن اليمين وعن الشمال قعيد ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد وجاءت سكرة الموت بالحق ذلك ما كنت منه تحيد ونفخ في الصور ذلك يوم الوعيد وجاءت كل نفس معها سائق وشهيد لقد كنت في غفلة من هذا فكشفنا عنك غطاءك فبصرك اليوم حديد وقال قرينه هذا ما لدي عتيد ألقيا في جهنم كل كفار عنيد مناع للخير معتد مريب الذي جعل مع الله إلها آخر فألقياه في العذاب الشديد قال قرينه ربنا ما أطغيته ولكن كان في ضلال بعيد قال لا تختصموا لدي وقد
A lot of us aspire, including myself, to be able to read the Quran in Arabic. And that's one of the reasons why I promote the Kalam app, because it teaches you the Arabic of the Quran and the Hadith specifically so you can understand the words of Allah, so you can read the Quran and understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. You say the word and it lets you know if you got it right or wrong. And if you got it wrong, it'll correct you, tell you how to say it properly, and have you practice until you get it right.
إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح.
This kind of active memory recall is one of the best methods of studying, and the app truly helps you hold on to the words so you remember them or you remember what they mean. And when you read the Quran, you could read it and say, I actually know what that means. And as someone who's learning Arabic right now, it's one of the best feelings when I can listen to an ayah being recited and be like, I actually understand that. So if you guys want to learn the Arabic of the Quran and even the Hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, then download the Kalam app. The link will be down below and you can get an extended free trial using code RAMI. All right, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to the channel. We got another stream today. W-ad, Jazakallah khair. I forgot to type it in the chat today, but I'll put it inshallah next time. But regardless, welcome back everybody. We're going to be taking a look at a debate. Not really a debate, it's more of an interview, but I'm going to frame it as a debate because it's Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee, two Christians going head to head on the topic of Israel. Now, Tucker Carlson was detained in Israel after trying to leave from this interview. It was brief, it wasn't too crazy, but he was detained, and they asked him what him and Mike Huckabee actually spoke about in the interview. So that was very peculiar, but regardless, let's jump into it.
We're about to play you an interview we did with U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, 2 days ago in Israel. In general, it's never worth talking about the backstory behind an interview. It's kind of not the point. It makes it about the interviewer, not the person being interviewed. For one thing. For another, it's not that interesting most of the time. And for another, it's kind of off the record. You know, the other person hasn't consented to you telling the story. So in general, we don't do that. Who'd want to hear that? Let the interview speak for itself. But in this case, we want to tell you just a few things about how this interview came about because they are pretty interesting, revealing, and now weirdly relevant, apparently. So this interview with Mike Huckabee came about a couple of weeks ago on Twitter. One of our producers showed me. He said something to the effect of, "You're talking to Middle Eastern Christians, Tucker Carlson. Maybe you should talk to me. Why don't you come do an interview?" And I paused for a minute. I've thought in the past about trying to interview Mike Huckabee, whom I've known for over 30 years and worked adjacent to at Fox. And I had mixed feelings about it, mostly because it's hard if you're me to interview Mike Huckabee because of just the personal affect. Mike Huckabee is jovial, comes off as friendly. He's a grandfather. When annoyed, I can be nasty in interviews. And so it takes a lot of self-control to interview someone like Mike Huckabee, not because I hate him, but because it's hard to ask him tough questions and not come off as a jerk, which I often am. So, but I thought in this case, yeah, I should definitely do this for a bunch of different reasons. Mainly, the United States is...
This is a very long introduction story. Like, let's get to the chase, man.
Moving toward a big war, a real war with Iran, a regime change war. The biggest war we've had since the invasion of Iraq in the spring of 2003. And Israel is driving that. We are doing this at the behest of...
Yes, I can see the chats. Don't worry, I can see the chats. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam, I should say.
The demand of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So it seems like now is the time for more Americans to understand the dynamic between the U.S. and Israel and to call attention to that. And for another, Huckabee's behavior in the last year in Jerusalem as the ambassador has been very, very striking.
How so?
He famously had a meeting with the most damaging spy in American history. And why did he do that? He hadn't been asked by anybody up until 2 days ago. Why did you do that? So I wanted to be able to ask him that.
He asked him? That's crazy.
And so we accepted. And then began the usual negotiations about when and where the interview would take place. And we were constrained because we weren't expecting this. We wanted to do it quickly, but we had tons of travel. So we threw them a date, them being the American embassy. We can do it on this date. And they were very accommodating. And then the question became, well, where do we do it? And maybe a Christian holy site. We said, we've got to get in and out really quick, got to be back to do a bunch of other interviews, but we've got this time frame. they said, well, why don't you do it at the U.S. Embassy? Or maybe we said that. Great, U.S. Embassy. So the U.S. Embassy is about an hour, 55 minutes from the big airport in Israel, Ben Gurion. So we said, okay, what about security?
This guy is going on for a long time for no reason. Like, this could have been summarized in a few sentences.
Now, at this time, the Israeli government, the prime minister included, were attacking me in this show.
Of course.
Netanyahu suggested I was a Nazi, for example.
Yeah, the freaking genocidal war dictator who's on trial, or his country's on trial for the International Court of Justice for genocide, and the person who has multiple International Criminal Court arrest warrants out for him for multiple crimes is calling someone else that term. All right.
Example. And so we thought, how about security? Obviously. Not because the Israeli government necessarily would do something bad, because there are a lot of people in Israel who think, because they've been told.
No, the Israeli government would do something bad, like absolutely.
Told, that I'm an anti-Semite or a Nazi or want to kill Jews. It's kind of crazy overstatement. All untrue, obviously, but it would be good to have security. And I should say, having done interviews on 6 out of 7 continents over 35 years, I'm not very security conscious at all. Never really feel uncomfortable with this. Seemed like a prudent thing to do. So we were told by the embassy spokesman, no, we're not going to provide security.
Wow.
And so we said, okay, I guess we'll get private security. But could we get someone from the embassy to ride in the car with us from the airport to the interview? And we were told, no. Could we get what they call a control officer, just an American, with us, in an official capacity as an embassy employee with us? No, quote, for legal reasons, we can't do that.
Wow.
So I thought, well, that's very strange. And then they said, but instead, we're turning you over to the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, MFA, and they're going to arrange everything in Israel.
Of course.
Well, this was within 24 hours of the Deputy Foreign Minister, Sharon Haskell, releasing a video calling me an anti-Semite and an enemy of Israel. This was the person who the embassy was telling us was...
I'm not going to lie, he's brave for going after all that. Like, yeah, he yapped for a minute to get us here, but I would not have went if all of that was the case and I was invited to go do an episode and a recording over there with Mike Huckabee.
Going to handle all of our travel. So it was at this point that I just called. I called the spokesman for the U.S. Embassy in Israel, and I said, okay, I'm an American citizen responding to an invitation from the American ambassador to Israel. And by the way, I'm the son of a U.S. ambassador, so I have some sense, not an expert.
He's the son of a U.S. ambassador? What the heck? I didn't know that. That's cool.
Obviously, but I have some sense of how this works. And I think that the U.S. ambassador has discretion to send somebody from his office to the airport to accompany someone in. Mm-hmm. I think that's right. And if it's not right, tell me what law you're talking about, what legal reason you're talking about that would prevent that. And now you're sending me over to a government official who's been calling me I'm
going to be real with you guys. I'm not listening to 25 minutes of this yap. I didn't realize how long it was. Literally 25 minutes straight. Maybe another video, but for now we want to focus on the actual discussion.
Thank you very much for having us, for inviting me. I was grateful to be invited.
Well, thank you.
I was grateful because I don't like all the name calling. I've engaged in some of it. I want to apologize for that. In general, I don't think people should be going immediately to motive, calling each other Nazis or anti-Semites. I said I hate the Christian Zionists. I lost control of myself. Of course, I don't. I've apologized for that. I have problems with my anger.
I just say Zionists in general, if we're being real.
And so I just want to apologize to you since you are a Christian Zionist.
You and I have known each other for over 30 years.
Over 30 years. That is totally true.
Back when you were in Little Rock. So
yes. The newspaper.
It's why I wanted us to have a conversation, talk to each other and not about each other. And I appreciate very much your coming here to.
Of course. And I'm only staying a couple hours, unfortunately, because I kind of shoehorned this in, but I hope that I will be back soon. And I hope that I can come back soon because I actually like, despite what you may hear, I actually like the country. I've been here a lot. And there are a lot of things I love about it. And I want to talk to people in it for like a week.
Good.
And get a better sense of it. So I want to ask you, everyone I've talked to in preparation for this has said the same thing. Jonathan Pollard, Like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw the name to you and have you explain.
No, I'm glad you asked. You know,
Of course.
interestingly, there's been a lot of things about it. You're the first person who has asked me about it, which I find amazing. So I'm glad you did.
Really?
Yeah, the very first
Good.
person.
Well, it's better to hear it.
Sure. I met Jonathan Pollard 2 times. Once I was making a speech in Jerusalem. This has been a few years ago. His wife was still alive at the time, and he was there. And someone introduced me to him and his wife. I said
Jonathan Pollard is an Israeli spy released from the U.S. Okay.
hello to them.
Oh, by the way, he apparently there was some kind of abuse that was sexual that occurred. So there's that as well. And this guy was released.
That was it. Hi. Nice to meet Esther, his wife, and that was it. I went and made my speech and I left. Later, his wife passed away here in Israel.
Oh, wow.
And I sent him a note and just said, I'm sorry to hear about your wife. I remember meeting her at the hotel and sorry to hear it. He then asked, could
Yes, this is the interview where he got detained at the airport after conducting it.
he come and see me? He wanted to come and thank me for being kind to him. He came to the embassy. I think we met for maybe 30 minutes. We had a nice, pleasant visit. The funny thing was the New York Times reported that it was a secret meeting. Tucker, if you've ever been to the U.S. Embassy, you would know there's no such thing as a secret meeting at the U.S. Embassy.
Sure.
There are cameras everywhere. You walk through Marines, you walk through security, you walk through the front office, and there's a dozen or more people that are going to check you out when you come. And before you get there, you're going to have to give us your passport information. You're going to have to be vetted and screened and all of this stuff. So the idea that it was secret was ludicrous. The whole idea is, look, Jonathan Pollard did something that was terribly wrong. He sold secrets. He shouldn't have done it.
This is the U.S. ambassador to Israel talking about an Israeli spy who spied on Americans and gave confidential secret information back to Israel about America.
He was sentenced to 30 years in prison and spent 30, actually was, I think he was sentenced to maybe more than 30 years, but he spent 30 years in prison.
Wow.
Most people convicted of something similar, which was one count, I believe, would have spent 2 to 4, but he spent 30. I don't have a problem with him spending 30 because I think what he did was despicable. I'm not defending anything about what he did. But even people like the former director of the CIA, a number of other senators on the Senate Foreign Relations of the Senate Intel Committee said that he should be allowed to leave and move to Israel if he wanted to. So it, to me, was not as big a deal that I had this basically courtesy meeting. He wanted to thank me for being nice to him when his wife died. That's pretty much the story.
You advocated for his release when you ran for, I remember it, in 2011, long before he had served 30.
The U.S. ambassador to Israel is advocating for the release of an Israeli spy who spied on Americans. Wow, shocking.
years. And I agree with you that there are a lot of people languishing in prison, you know, in our country and in this country, and many countries, you know, for longer periods than they deserve. And I think it's a Christian impulse to want to see them free. But this was the greatest traitor in modern American history who sold our battle plans.
Battle plans? He sold battle plans? That's insane. That is tantamount to war, if we're being real, because battle plans reveal your strategy and you can be outmaneuvered and waste a lot of time, effort, and resources if your battle plans are compromised.
Against the Soviet Union, our main enemy in the Cold War, to the Israeli government, which according to our Reagan CIA director, Bill Casey, then gave them to the Soviet Union. So this was the most profound betrayal of the United States in my lifetime. Why advocate for that guy's release before he serves his full sentence?
Great question.
If that were the case in 2011, it would have been because I had a number of friends that suggested that he had more than served time and he didn't want to live in the U.S. anymore. He wanted to live in Israel.
He's not living in the U.S. He's in prison in the U.S. He's a convicted felon serving a sentence out in the U.S. He's not living. It's so dumb.
And but my association with him, again, I had never met him until I met him in Jerusalem at a hotel. That was the first time I had ever.
This is very sus. Meeting spies at hotels in Jerusalem. and having secret meetings with him in the embassy. Like, this is very suspicious.
Counted it.
The U.S. ambassador to Israel again.
I'm friends with 1 million bad people, or I've talked to 1 million bad
I'm
people.
sitting here with you. I mean, come on.
I don't think I'm friends with any bad person. I don't think I would consider someone who I think is a bad person a friend of mine. If we're being real, I don't know about you guys. I don't know about them. Clearly, they would consider themselves friends with bad people, but I'm not a friend of any bad person.
Jesus ain't with tax collectors, so I trust me. Do not judge people who are friends or know or enjoy the company of immoral people, because it's not an endorsement of their immoral behavior. Pollard is different. I think once you become U.S. ambassador, the representative of the president of the United States in the United States of America in a foreign country, and then you invite not only the most damaging betrayer in our lifetimes, but also a guy who continues to advocate for betrayal. So he gave an interview, as I know you know, in 2021 to Israeli media, in which he said, I would encourage Jewish Americans with security clearances to spy for Mossad against their own country, the United States.
You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. He didn't just spy on them, but he still advocates for Jewish Israeli Americans or Jewish Americans to spy on their own country and give the secrets to Israel. Wow. Wow.
Because, and I'm pretty much quoting him, all Jews should have dual loyalty.
We're not even being stereotypical. We're not being stereotypical. We're not joking. We're not trying to be funny. But the stereotypes are writing themselves. The jokes are writing themselves. A Jewish spy just said that every Jew should have dual loyalty. It's not a joke. This is not a joke.
That's not repentance. That's not someone who feels bad about what he did. That's someone who's encouraging American Jews to betray their country. That's pretty heavy, don't you think?
Oh, I do.
Imagine if it was a Muslim. Imagine all the headlines. Imagine what Israel would be saying if it was a Muslim doing this and encouraging Muslims to spy on America.
And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think, let's remember, it was President Trump who probably facilitated his departure. And I'm certainly supportive of President Trump. I think you are. And
Pollard's not. He called him a madman after your meeting.
That's why I say Pollard is not, for me, the real issue. It was the fact that he did something that was despicable.
And he's still advocating to do that despicable thing, and for every Jewish American to continue to do that despicable thing. So yes, he is the problem. He is the exact problem.
I'm not denying that. Of course he did. And he paid dearly for it, 30 years in prison, and he should have.
Not long enough. Treason, the punishment for treason, I believe in America to this day, is actually death. Let me see. Is there a death penalty in America for treason? Yes, the death penalty is legal, albeit rarely applied. So yeah, it is. It is the punishment for treason. He should have been put to death, if we're being real.
That's what he should have done. There's no question about it.
But why meet with him in the U.S. Embassy?
Why give him that courtesy? Why give a spy the courtesy of meeting him in the U.S. Embassy and discussing with him at all? I would be like, you're lucky to be alive. Get the hell out of the country. Get the hell out of my face. If I was the American ambassador.
Colleagues said they were shocked. They said...
Who were the colleagues that said they were shocked?
Quoted on Background in the New York Times. I think the meeting was in August.
On Background. Yeah, everyone is shocked that you, as the U.S. ambassador to Israel, would sit and have a private discussion in the embassy with an Israeli spy who just got off a prison sentence early and is going back to live in Israel and is still inciting Jews to spy on America. Yeah, everyone's going to be shocked. I don't know why that's surprising to you.
Could all be fake. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, the same New York Times said it was a secret meeting. And I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a secret meeting in the U.S. Embassy.
See, what do you mean by secret? That's a secret that it happened, or the contents of the discussion were secret? Because I doubt you had listening devices, or maybe he did because he's a spy, but I doubt you recorded the conversation. I doubt others were there to listen in. So it was the contents of the discussion were secret, not the fact that you had a discussion.
See why the U.S. ambassador hosting a convicted betrayer of his own country who's encouraging Americans to continue to betray their country would seem shocking.
Well, I would say that it wasn't that you make it sound like I'm hosting a meeting. I simply met with him. I meet with people all the time.
Would you meet with like Osama bin Laden? Or like Giuliani before he was the president of Syria?
Some
You can
of
just
them,
walk in without a...
No, they have to have an appointment. Of course they do.
Oh, so it is
Yeah.
hosting him then, I think.
Should I book an appointment with Mike Huckabee? Should I book an appointment with Mike Huckabee and see if he'll just graciously give me his time?
Well, I don't know if it was hosting, but it was certainly, he was able to come to the U.S. Embassy to have a meeting at his request. I did.
Is anyone able to just request a meeting with the U.S. ambassador to Israel in the embassy? Hands up, should I request a meeting with Mike Huckabee and see if he accepts?
And frankly, I don't regret it. I met with a lot of people over the course of the time I've been here, and we'll meet with a lot more. That's it.
So if you spend...
All right, we don't need that ad, buddy. The only ad here is the Kalam app. Download the Kalam app, link down below.
Trying to molest a 15-year-old girl.
What?
Sex offender, best.
What?
There have been Americans in prison in Israel. There have also been, and there continue to be, dozens and dozens and dozens of accused sex offenders from the United States who fled to Israel.
Wow.
Including one recently, an Israeli government official who was caught trying to molest a 15-year-old girl.
I remember that. Disgusting. Despicable.
And fled to Israel and is not going back to the United States to stand charges for attempted molestation of a child.
Of course.
Have you advocated for the Israeli government to return him to the United States?
I'm not familiar with that case.
There's no way you're unfamiliar with this case. There is that's a cold-hearted lie. There is no way the ambassador to Israel is unaware of an Israeli government official trying to do something so heinous in his country. You are the worst U.S. ambassador to a foreign nation in history if you don't know about this.
It has not come to us at the embassy.
It just didn't make its way up. It didn't find a time in Mike Huckabee's busy schedule to book an appointment and inform him that it exists, that it actually happened.
So I'm not aware. Is this the person in Nevada?
That is correct.
Okay.
So he is aware of it. So he is aware of it. If he knows it was in Nevada, then he knows it happened.
I
In
heard
Clark
about
County, I would imagine so.
Yeah, I heard about it, but I heard about it through open source media. It was never something that was presented to us. But
And you didn't think to inquire about it? Really?
I would have no problem with him being extradited back to the U.S.
He didn't ask if you would have a problem. He asked if you inquired about it.
You're the president's and our country's representative in the state of Israel. So I think it would fall to you to advocate with your friend, the prime minister, to say, wait a second, we have a very close relationship. We're obviously the single largest source of outside funding for this country. How can you take an accused child molester and shield him from American justice, send him back to the United States? Have you ever had that conversation?
No, because the prime minister would not be the proper person
That may be
in
right.
Israel
Pardon my ignorance. But
that would deal with an extradition. It would go through their court system. And so the
Holy red herring and running around the corner away from the conversation. Must have been the wind logic. That's good. Must have been the wind. Must have been the wind in Nevada. So stupid. Did you go through the proper channels? The answer is clearly no.
prime minister is separate, very similar to what we have in the U.S., where there is a separation of powers. So it would go through something other than the prime minister.
have you advocated to the courts, to judges, to anybody in the Israeli justice system?
There has never been a request for me to engage in that. I would be happy to do it. If the White House sent a message to me, I do work for the president. I serve at his pleasure. If anyone at the White House were to say to me, would you please go and make a case for it? But probably if that were to happen, it wouldn't come through the embassy as much as it would likely come from the Department of Justice at the U.S. in D.C. They would make the request. They might involve us, but they very likely would not.
Does it seem strange to you that people accused of child molestation in the United States are allowed to have refuge within the borders of our closest ally? How that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I would say that
If you've molested an American child, shouldn't you be required to stand justice?
It's an allegation. Let's be clear. One of the things about our system of jurisprudence,
It was a sting. It was a sting operation. He was caught red-handed. There's evidence. It's not an allegation. It's not a he said, she said, blah, blah, blah. What are your thoughts on Tucker? I think he's obviously self-interested to begin with, as are all people. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But the reason I mention that is because we can't just wholesale say somebody is good or has good motives or whatever just because they're saying and doing things that are correct. This stream just got blocked apparently because I'm not allowed to watch this interview on stream. Apparently, that's what YouTube's telling me now. But regardless, the moment I say something bad about Tucker, it gets blocked. That's funny. No, but on a real note, he's definitely self-interested for sure. And Mossad attacked the stream, very possible. But I can't distinguish between him defending Palestine because it's the right thing to do, and him defending Palestine because he knows that's where the shift is going, and he went from being the host of certain shows on Fox News and MSNBC and all these other news stations to now being independent. He was a part of a media organization. Now he's independent. And when you're independent, you need a cash cow. You need something to keep you afloat. You need something to help you launch. That's what Piers Morgan did. That's what Candace Owens did. And that's what Tucker is doing as well. So you can't blame him, but you just can't distinguish between him doing it for the right reasons, for selfless reasons, or just for money, or for both, because it's possible. God knows best. Yeah, I'm just telling you guys what I see on my screen. I got the notification. When I refresh my stream, it doesn't tell me that there are any restrictions. It's just something I saw pop up. So it literally says, let me read it to you. It literally says, your stream has been temporarily blocked because we detected a video belonging to someone else. If you plan to continue, please ensure that the content owner has added your channel to their allow list. So I'm not on Tucker Carlson's allow list. He has disallowed me by default. But when I refresh the studio, it doesn't say that it's restricted. So maybe when I end the stream, it'll say, haha, gotcha, get lost. But I think I'm good to continue for now. If you guys are here, you know what? Oh, no, it got taken down. It got taken down.